I think there is an alternate universe world where Captain America is British, but this is Captain Dope. How are you tonight, John? Looking very sharp. Wait a minute now. You traded the Cadillac for a cop car?
Which Cadillac? Which Cadillac?
You're supposed to say I traded the Cadillac for a microphone. You dress like the Blues Brothers.
There you go. There you go.
We're on a mission from God.
I love this thumbnail. I mean, this is awesome. This is Peter Daszak from Eco Health Alliance has been in the hot seat this week in front of Congress. And there may not be, well, I shouldn't say that. Klaus Schwab, I think, continues to dress like Mr. Evil, number one. So it's hard to get him out of the picture. But this guy may be the second biggest evil character in America right now. And I thought it made some sense to take a look at this because I'm trying to figure out who's on Peter Daszak's side. Anyone?
Fauci, maybe.
Is anybody coming to this guy's support and saying, hey, wait a second, wait a second. Eco Health Alliance does really important work. This guy's getting a bad rap. It just seems like everybody's on this guy. And when that happens, that tends to, something's up. And there's some things that happen with Peter Daszak that we've talked about on the show, particularly him notifying ProMed, Larry Madoff at ProMed, that he was concerned about this outbreak in Wuhan. But at the time, there were fewer than 40 cases and nobody had died. And what I've been asking for the last 5 or 6 months is, why was he so worried? Was this a hemorrhagic pneumonia where blood came from people's eyes and ears and, it looked like Ebola, looked like the movies, and all of a sudden the blood's coming out of here and the blood's coming out of your ears and coming out of your eyeballs? Why was he so worried? What was it about this pneumonia that had him so concerned that he gets in touch with ProMed and says to Larry Madoff, you guys want to keep an eye on this? This could turn into something. I don't know what it was. And everybody I keep asking.
Doesn't this also go to your whole dust up with Malone? Because he was calling before this was when there was one guy dead, right?
Yeah. So you sort of wonder. So you got Malone, you got Peter Daszak, you got Callahan. What are these guys all worked up about? Nobody's dead from the virus yet, right? So the first death doesn't happen until January 10th. And all these guys are all worked up. And I'm trying to figure out, you got 1.6 billion people and a couple people have got pneumonia in the midst of an avian flu outbreak that the Pentagon's monitoring. Why do you think this is something different? Why do you think it's something novel and new as opposed to the thing that is out there right now and spreading? So I just couldn't understand that. So Peter Daszak, interesting guy. And in this show, we're going to take a closer look at Eco Health Alliance, and might he be getting a bad rap? In other words, if everybody's saying he's a bad guy, might that not necessarily be the story? And so that's
Wait a minute. Are you serious? He's a hero? Because I made him look like a schlub.
No, that's okay, because, I mean, hero is tongue-in-cheek, and I have to kind of explain that, because here in America, I mean, I don't know if it's like this in other countries, but in America, we do things as a country that the public isn't aware of, because the public in America is too stupid to know the things that the government does. The government is very, very smart and has to keep secrets from the public because the public can't handle the things that the people in the government, like AOC, she's a very, very intelligent person. She can handle things that other adults can't really handle. So in America, you're not told the truth about what's happening. They lie to the public, right? In fact, they've got a whole department that does this, right? The GEC at the State Department tells you, here's what we do. And that's what they do. And if that's the case, well, then, so in other words, let's say, hypothetically speaking, before COVID, there was another virus, hypothetically speaking, that was creating havoc around the world and potentially going to wipe out a good portion of the food supply. Hypothetically, long before COVID. COVID was what, 2020? Assume this has happened, I don't know, 2017, 2018, 2019, and assume that there's like a serious risk that the food supply is going to be kind of devastated. Maybe 25, 30, 35% of the food supply could get wiped out. And by that, I'm talking about chickens, eggs, poultry, ducks, turkey, that kind of stuff. And that would be pretty devastating. And if you look at, so for example, in Europe, one of the things we studied was Poland is the largest exporter of chickens in Europe. Well, what if their economy was devastated? What if their chicken exports were devastated? Brazil is the number one exporter of frozen chicken products. What if their poultry industry was devastated because of something we did in America in Wisconsin?
Sounds like a lawsuit.
Right? Oh, it sounds like a lawsuit that begins with the word trillions, right? Trillions of dollars.
You're chicken-based economy.
Indeed. And so that's why I'm working on this book, Bat Soup for the Soul. Which
that's good.
Really
is that new?
Yeah.
That's good.
So this is coming out soon.
That's
very
exciting. Be it. That might be the best title yet.
Yeah, so this is exciting. And, I worked with Peter Daszak on a couple of these recipes that are in the book. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. So, let's forge ahead. So there's the hero. Now, how the hell could this guy potentially be a hero?
He looks like he'd be shaking people down for tips in Times Square with this outfit.
Yeah, looks like he goes to the Sheraton Hotel in Times Square and wears a diaper, if you know what I'm talking about. Have you seen those groups that get together on the weekends? They're out of their minds, the ferries and stuff. So I'm not saying he is a ferry. I'm saying he looks like he could be comfortable as a ferry. Yeah, he'd be comfortable in a ferry costume. All right, so anyway, Peter, how could he possibly be a hero? And I want to explore this angle because, again, what we do in America is not what the public is told we do, right? Everybody's still trying to figure out how did the submarine or how did the pipeline blow up in the Black Sea, right? Everybody's still trying to figure that out.
Submarine? Everybody knows how that blew up. The dude built it in his garage.
Poseidon. Yeah. So everybody's still trying to figure that out. So in this case, let's assume, hypothetically, that there was a big problem and that the people who keep secrets at the U.S. government needed a way out of this problem because the problem looks like maybe all the chickens in Poland, or let's say a quarter of the chickens in Poland could die. And if that happens, that has a devastating impact on their economy. Same thing with Brazil, right? So we can't have this happening. What do we do? Is there a way to pin this on China? Now that sounds like
the kind solving it. Let's just blame it on China.
That's the American way. We don't solve problems. We come up with ways to the stuff you spray on your head, right, to make it look like hair. It doesn't actually grow hair; it's paint, but we spray it on our heads anyway. So we don't solve the problem; we treat the symptom. So we say, so wait a second. Now, don't show this yet. Don't show this yet. This is a big reveal. So the notion here that there's an outbreak in China that potentially could devastate Poland, I don't know, Japan, South Africa, Brazil, et cetera, countries that poultry is a big part of the economy. The ramifications are huge. Imagine Poland suing the United States for $14 trillion in losses over a 4-year period. It would be unbelievable because every country would be suing us, Brazil, Poland, Japan, et cetera. It wouldn't stop. And it would be in the international courts, right? It would be either at The Hague or the ICC or something like that.
U.S. doesn't go for that. We just say, we're not doing that.
Right. Well, that's right. We just don't show up like a lot of these people with the debates. They just don't show up at the debates anymore, which is fascinating.
Fannie Willis did that.
Right. So this notion that there's an outbreak, it's in the food supply, the UN Food and Agriculture Organization is documenting it. What if the guys who keep all the secrets, who work in Langley, Virginia, turned to Peter Daszak, hypothetically, and said, Peter, we're in a jam as a country. America needs your help. Now, we can't let everybody know that because the problem is a pretty big secret. But you're in a position to help because you've been developing really devastating viruses in China, right? Don't you have a whole bunch of stuff going on at that Wuhan?
You know what I wanted to ask you? Isn't it weird that they have it written on there in English? Like, why would they do that in China? When I went to China, everything was in Chinese.
They were hosting lots of dignitaries. Didn't we see photos of Fauci and Obama?
But I mean, did the U.S. or England or somebody like help build this thing? It seems like that's a joint, like, why is there English written on that building? It just occurred to me.
It's not the answer to your question, but you just mentioned something, which is a joint construction. Turns out the French helped them build this new facility. And there was an old facility and a new facility. And I think what's in this photo is the old one. The new one's pretty modern. Yeah. And the French helped build it. And again, they have visiting people from all over the place. So Peter Daszak works with the Wuhan people, has people that work with the people in the lab there. And the guys at Langley know this, right? They know who he is. They know what he does. And so they reach out and they say, Peter, hypothetically speaking, if we had a deadly virus that, I don't know, let's say Kawaoka had worked on and it got out and it's killing chickens everywhere. And we don't really want the Japanese and the Polish to know this. We kind of want them to think what's happening is coming from China. Do you have a virus over there that causes pneumonia?
Dial a virus. Hey, Pete.
Do you have anything that causes pneumonia over there?
1-800-VIRUS.
and if you have something that causes pneumonia, let's see. How would I get dopes like Charles Rixey to pay attention to it for 4 years, right? Cash. I want them to contemplate, did it come from the wet market? Did it come from the lab for 4 years? Now, how do we do that?
Crypto.
Well, no, ideally, that's that encourages behavior.
Gift cards.
But what if the virus had really cool features? What if it had the equivalent of like LED lighting? You'd be like, well, how the hell did that come from a wet market? That had to come from the laboratory. It's got LED lighting on it. That didn't come from a wet market. CGG, this furin cleavage site, is so sophisticated. I mean, if you've seen the animation of how this thing works, it's remarkable in what it does. And to think that this just accidentally came together, or, because they kept the eels next to the turtles, I don't, it seems like a stretch.
Rand Paul.
They don't, and they can't find any genetic history there. They can't, they can't say, oh, right. yeah. Here's the ancestor from 2017. They don't see that. All right. So the whole idea here is if Peter Daszak had one of these synthetic viruses that they build basically using componentry, and they use that to get everybody's attention. This is a hypothetical scenario. In that scenario, wouldn't he be Langley's hero? Because he saves the day. And rather than America being sued further into bankruptcy, what are we, 30 trillion, 40 trillion in bankrupt now? Imagine we go all the way to 100 trillion bankrupt, right? And now we owe the Japanese 100 trillion and we owe the Brazilians 120 trillion. And I'm sure it's not those kinds of numbers, but the point is that the exposure is huge.
Yeah, the animosity and the liability.
Dude, we killed a quarter of the chickens. In South Africa, it's 30%. So if Peter Daszak is the guy that our intelligence apparatus turn to kind of bail them out, well, then isn't he the hero?
He's more like
Just
Harvey
because nobody
Keitel in Pulp Fiction, right? Just call him to clean up the dead guy.
It's kind of the role. But because the public isn't aware of this broader story, he's painted to be the bad guy. And it's just amazing to me that everybody thinks Peter Daszak's the bad guy. Now, I'm not saying that Peter Daszak's really the good guy. I'm saying that if you work in Langley, Virginia, he's your hero. He's the guy who said, how do you hide a pandemic? If one of our viruses got out, let's say it wasn't Kawaoka's, let's say it's another one from Fort Detrick. It's H14N.
Is that a thing?
Pick an N5.
Does it go that high?
I forget if it goes beyond. One of them's like 11 and one is 18, and there's only like 191 combinations. So whatever, pick a number. H11N4.
It's like bingo.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So let's say one of bingo.
Comes up with something. Let's say it's a graduate student down in Galveston, whips up H9N5.
It's like a smoothie.
And it's devastating. It's devastating. We don't have immunity to this stuff.
Well, it's because this is the gain of function you're talking about, right?
Well, the gain of function. So gain of function basically is speeding up. In other words,
if
you
adding any capability that it doesn't normally have, like this is what we were talking about with Dilger, where if you start intervening and combining things that normally wouldn't be combined through the deliberate actions of man, you start to create diseases that nobody has seen before and wouldn't otherwise happen.
I think of it as two things. I think of it as that. So you get these new capabilities, you get these recombinations of the viruses. I also think of it as speeding up the genetic process. Meaning, if I'm trying to grow viruses in Galapagos tortoises and I got to wait 150 years to get to the next generation, we're going to be here for about 1,000 years before I can get anything going here, right? These turtles live 150 years. So what they're doing is by growing them in these humanized mice, whatever the hell that means. We should do a whole show on humanized mice.
What could possibly go wrong with that?
Oh, man. And there's different types of humanized mice. In fact, go to Twitter for a second and just quickly search Twitter for I am John Cullen humanized mice, because there's different types. And when I'm using humanized mice, I know that there's a special type that I like to use because they smell more like marshmallows. And so you'll find those. But it's wild that they've got these things. So if in fact something of ours got out of the lab and was about to wreak havoc around the world, and the CIA and the president decide that the right thing to do is to cover it up, well, then the right thing to do is to cover it up. Damn it, this is America. And just because you don't get a say in it doesn't mean it's wrong. You see what I'm saying? The government is smarter than you.
What is a humanized mouse? What do they do?
There you go. You see what it says? Read that tweet.
No.
No. Read my tweet. Read my tweet.
Just go to
down.
Alex Jones, I only use humanized mice from Jackson Laboratories. Yes, they cost a little bit more, but they are worth it. I prefer the PBMC mice because they squirm less than the CD34 plus mice we had been using. Don't settle for crappy human mice. Life is too short. But what do? They're doing something with the DNA of the mouse so that it's what?
We got to do a show on this. The fact that there's different flavors of humanized mice is fascinating.
What does that even mean? Human peripheral blood, mononuclear cell engrafted, NSG. So, what does that mean? They've take some DNA from a human and put it in this mouse?
We should probably get Dr. Judy on the show and ask her what the hell are these things. How many of them have you? She's going to know all the
in vivo models to study and evaluate compounds for infectious disease and graft rejection. Oh yeah, this is like when they put the ear on the mouse, right?
There you go. There you go.
Graft an ear on a mouse. You want this ear from a mouse? What?
Well, and the fact that they've got two different versions of the humanized mice, if you want to do this, you're going to get these. If you want to do that,
there it is.
It's unbelievable. So,
look, implanted the shape of a human ear in the back of a mouse, and there it is. You get that ear.
Yeah, and then when they put that on the guy, when they do the transplant, it's kind of wild because now that poor guy gets chased by cats everywhere. He can't get rid of the cats. So yeah, it's pretty cute, isn't it? It's a good look.
Did they ever do that? Actually grow an ear on a mouse and attach it to somebody?
Of course. You don't remember when Mike Tyson bit Evander Holyfield?
3D.
Right? How'd he get his ear back?
Actually, the guy who was his doctor became a 3D movie producer. This looks like a shrinky dink or some kind of thing you'd chia pet ear or something.
This shrinky dink ears. There you go.
Wow. So there's no off topic here.
All right. So now imagine that Peter Daszak is approached by Langley and they've got their hat in their hand and they say, Peter, we need something out of that lab of yours that's going to get everybody's attention. And like, if it had GP120 and CGG, oh man, that'll keep everybody busy for years. They'll never stop talking about it.
People want to order these ear mice as pets.
Indeed. Well, at least we know they listen, right? We know
it's
they
a conversation starter.
Oh, indeed. Come on. Where do you walk them around the park on a leash and it's got
an ear on your mouse?
And you can pierce it too. So, right, you can pierce it. So you do all kinds of Tiffany stuff and Elsa Peretti. All right, so let's go back to our deck. We've only a couple more minutes. All right, so this is pretty interesting. So this is the HHS Provider Relief Fund spreadsheet that I stumbled across. And this is how much money the United States government reimbursed various entities.
Whoa.
So,
oh my God. This New York City Health and Hospitals, that's the thing that was running the whole, Colleen Smith simulation. Holy crap. Is that $1 billion?
$1.16 billion to them.
Wow.
But look at these numbers. Go to number 2, number 3, number 4. Look
NYU,
at the dollars.
$500 million.
How much? $500 million to NYU.
Wow.
$500 million.
Mount Sinai, $281 million. I mean, the cheapest payout is 100 and something million, 130 million. Wow.
Cook County,
what is that about?
Clinic. This is all for COVID.
But where did they get this money?
Where did who get this money?
I mean, yeah, who paid it to them? Like, what is this? What are we looking at here?
HHS. This is HHS.
Where did
Health
they get
and
it?
Human Services. We print money. You didn't know that? We have, it's called the Treasury. We just print it.
This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. So, I mean,
we deliver it in a truck.
I bet you there's a lot of people who would do a lot of things for $1.1 billion.
How about North Shore University Hospital in Manhasset on Long Island, right? In Manhasset, $200 million.
I mean, what does that thing usually earn in a year? This seems like years worth of money for them.
Take a look. It's worth looking at, even if it goes 3 minutes over or something like that. But take a look. It's worth looking at. So North Shore University Hospital System's annual revenues, right? What would that be? I can hit my AI and ask my AI that.
$7.1 billion
annually. And
That's
what kind of net income?
It says North Shore University Hospital's annual revenue is 7.1 B.
Wow. And what about net income? Can you change it to net income?
Wait a minute here. Here's North Shore University, not nonprofit. ProPublica now. Wait. This is better to look at. ProPublica says 3.48 billion. And this is going to be, if it's a nonprofit thing, we're going to be able to actually see their tax. Yeah, I don't know what that thing's talking about with $7 billion. This is Whoa. See here, look at this. Net assets is 1.2 billion. So that was way off. Here's their 990 filing for 2022. And this is saying, oh yeah, 4 billion gross receipts.
Is there a net? I guess if it's a nonprofit, it has to be zero, right? They have to.
No. I mean, we're way into Charles territory here. There's certain things I can find on these documents, but I mean, you know, they got a lot of money is what it comes to.
$200 million is $200 million, man.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of cash.
Because they're saying, oh, we're normally making billions. Give us 200 million. All right.
It's a lot.
Jason and John can sit home going broke. Here's your 200 million.
200 million, 180 million, 175 million. I mean, it's like, man.
Oh, hey, but we are at 25 minutes, John. So I think we should continue the conversation over here. In our sponsor exclusive segment, people can join us on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen. We've been knocking it out of the park the past couple of weeks. If people have missed it, John revealed his identity 2 weeks ago. We had this great documentary, like a 5-year time capsule that's been laying in wait, that even when I saw it, I was like, holy cow, we have to have a conversation about this. Then we did that last week. That led to tremendous stuff. Plus, on Sunday, we delved into all kinds of, what were we talking about on Sunday? It was that awesome.
Yeah, I forgot. But what we're going to do with the patrons now, so if you guys are not yet a patron, when you come over to the patron-only portion of the show, what I have is the Blue Cross Blue Shield reimbursement, what do they call it, the bonus plan or something like that?
Yeah, the sales
performance. Performance recognition program from Blue Cross Blue Shield, to see how much bonus their doctors, the members of their program, get based on who gets vaccinated for different things. So how much of a bonus do you get if this percentage of your patients are vaccinated? So now you understand the pressure that physicians are under. So we're going to look at that. And then we've got some video from Cornell University talking about avian flu. So we've got some real special content to share with our patrons. I'm really looking forward to it.
And of course, I got confused because what we went over last week on John Cullen Investigates were the ties to World War I. It was on Sunday that we were talking about the recap, John Cullen's Las Vegas shooting, Thailand time capsule. So if people haven't seen that yet, you're definitely going to want to become a sponsor. Tonight is a great night to do it. Subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen. Patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, or you can go to Odyssey.com/@CrowdsourceTheTruth. You can go to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and for free, you can read the Twitter coup, a document that Elon Musk and Matt Gaetz are allergic to, but it's free for you to read. You can also go to subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay with us. Thanks for tuning in.